Right, there we go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? You caught us cracking up,
Yeah.
laughing again. We're laughing at me this time. I think we're probably always laughing at me. What's up with me? But I just wanted to make sure I got it right. Welcome to episode 89 of Mirrorless Minutes, because the last time I did the intro, I was off by one. And
Yeah. We had
apparently,
288s or something, I think.
yeah, I
Right?
think I'm running out of fingers and toes, and I can't ask my wife and kids to come in and let me borrow theirs to count episodes. So
Right. So do we have to say first that you have not broken your streak of shows?
only one, and it was like a crazy
Well,
situation.
that one I don't
but-
think, because I didn't get on either. So
Okay.
that was a show that didn't happen.
I jumped in with
But-
the crappiest like cell phone signal I
Well, that
could
was
ever
pretty
get.
rough.
It was. It looked like Fred Flintstoneville or something, but
Yeah.
I had to at least drop in and say hi to the ladies and wish you guys luck on the show. And so
Yeah. It was a good show. Missed having you there. We got a lot of response from that show. I think it was from not that we should be surprised, but at the same time, it was some interesting response about just how much I think everybody liked the trip,
Right.
and to hear about the trip. And so for you super fans out there, Jamie and I were just talking. We're not just secluding you. You'll be on.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get
for
you
sure.
there.
And I can see why that show would have been a big draw too, because when you think about it, it's like a photographer's dream come true to have a company whose equipment you use choose you to fly you, well, from a lot of them, across the entire continent,
Right.
for like a photo vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why would that not draw the interest of everybody else who did not get the chance but now knows that?
Well, and they should.
That they continue to be a fan, because it pays dividends for
they could be the next one to go. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think 3 months ago they thought they were going to go, and we didn't know either. So
no, it's such a cool thing. I'm still like face hurts smiling so hard about it. It was very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too, not being on a show, it feels like you haven't done a show in like forever.
Isn't that weird feeling?
Like, holy crap! Do I remember how to like get this rolling? It's just so bizarre. But I was gone for work. That's not me normally.
Yeah,
normally
we switched spots on that, and I was home and everything.
Yeah,
that was really weird.
So and it was cool. So it was my second trip to California in like 2.5 weeks. So I was home for a week and then gone again to California again. So anyways. Fun.
I noticed you're starting to say dude a lot more.
Dude, totally, man. I didn't really get to talk to many surfers too much, and I did on the beach a little bit, just to kind of break the ice for taking photos, because I don't want to be that creepy guy on the beach with the big long lens taking pictures of the girls in bikinis, walking with their surfboards. But it's hard not to down there, because
that's pretty much what they do.
We were surfing, especially in Huntington Beach.
So
some stuff to talk about tonight, man. We got to talk about Atlanta. And I'm gonna throw this in there early, but we'll talk more about it. There's only 2 spots left. And I personally know 4 people who are talking to spouses and partners and friends and whoever else they need to about going on this. So if you're on the fence, jump over the fence and sign up, because your spot might be gone, because Mike and
4. I've got 2 that are talking with me, and they're doing the same thing. They're checking in with their spouse and trying to make it work, and other commitments that they have. And
we don't want to open it up to bidding.
We definitely are not. And the big thing I think everybody needs to remember too is when we get to those 2 spots, we're stopping. We absolutely have committed to not, always make sure we got like that, 2-to-1 type instructor ratio. So we give a good class the whole way through. And you know what? No more people fit in the van that we're taking. So and that's the cool thing. You got to remember that on I think that's a big piece, that when you're starting to consider it, you fly to Atlanta, you get off the plane, you get on the MARTA train or whatever, it's a MARTA train or whatever, and you go straight to the hotel. It lets off in the hotel. You don't even have to walk outside. And then you walk over to the hotel, and then we've got transportation settled, ready to roll. And that's a big cost. And not only is it a cost, if you have ever driven in Atlanta traffic, you don't want to be driving. Leave it to us. You can hear us complain about it.
Actually, leave it to Mike.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
He's more local there than I am. So, but that's a big selling point too. That I don't know. Again, not like I go on a lot of other people's workshops to know this, but I think it's kind of cool that we have a van that we can bring everybody around in one group, because that's a big part of the workshop is, the cohesiveness of everybody being there, and you lose that if people have to start driving separately to places.
Oh, you really do.
Some distance to cover as a group. So
and that's exactly what I was going to say. Each of these trips are an hour and a half, and there'll be tons of information shared on those. I mean, just look at our trips in San Francisco, how much you learn with all the people.
Yeah. Oh, totally. For sure. So we kind of talked about it, even though we were going to save it for later, but we'll probably come back and revisit it a little bit. For those who don't know about the workshop, and haven't heard much, in detail about what we're going to do, we'll probably touch on that a little bit later. But you want to talk about the firmware really quick?
Yeah, boy, was there something happened today? Everybody got new cameras,
right? Except for me, I wasn't home for the new cameras. I was busy all day, so
I was definitely working and watching people that loaded theirs, like Alex. And that's one of the things I have down on my list to talk about. I mean, there's so many. I'm gonna guess there's 12. I'm looking at the bullet points. Maybe 12 for the OMD EM1 Mark II. And that's the biggest one. I mean, the Pro Capture was already cool, but so what does it go to now? The
35
pictures. Man, you better have a big card.
I love. Okay, so when we were in San Francisco, this was one of the things that we were privy to, what the firmware update was going to include, last month or whatever for our summit meeting. And when we heard about the Pro Cap mode getting like the pre-shots extended out to 35 frames, the first thing I thought of, and I want somebody to go do this, please, because my season is not here yet and I want to see that it works. I think that you'll be able to catch daytime lightning with your finger. With this mode.
Yeah, that's right.
So live comp during the day with ND filters, lightning, I've seen pictures of it and they don't turn out the greatest that way. But if you can sit there, have shutter pressed with your camera pointed in the region where the lightning's occurring, and if you see a lightning bolt and then finish pressing the shutter button, I almost guarantee you're going to have lightning in that shot with no fancy triggers or nothing, just your fancy Olympus camera. Does that sound like an ad?
Smart. I never even actually thought about that, but you're right. You daytime lightning without throwing all the filters on.
Right. Or without having to invest in a lightning trigger, which those can be kind of hit or miss, especially during the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. The Pro Capture being enhanced. Do you have anything that you're amped up on?
I'm amped up on the Pen F thing, but I won't go into that right now because it's exactly what when I tested that Pen F was what I was asking for. It's like,
I remember that.
Heck,
you had a little notebook.
I wish I had one of those cards with me right now, those index cards I was carrying around. I would take a picture of the setting with an actual camera with the iPhone. Then I would put down, this one looked like this.
Right. Yep. And now you can save those settings.
You just save the settings. And you need what do you need? The updater or uploader to put them onto your camera? I haven't done it yet, so I don't know.
It should be the Olympus updater app. So, and what's cool too is, and this is something that we talked about several years ago at the summit, was the ability to develop like a look, like the black and white thing that I like to do with my cameras, that built-in mode that I like to do. And, or your custom settings on the Pen F, being able to take those, back them up, and you could put it on and like an SD card or a USB drive, and then you could give that to somebody, or you could email it to them and they could put it on their computer and then use their updater app to put it on their camera. So
that's what I'm getting excited about. If somebody's totally, man, I really like that one you used or whatever, to me it's more of a sharing thing. I don't see, I mean, it's a little bit different to me than presets, because I think it'd be more fun to have a sharing community of them.
Maybe maybe we should make a Facebook group.
We should make a Facebook group. Well, for sure, we got the Pen F one. Join that one, and I bet you $10 people start sharing those things.
That's a good idea.
Because and then they also put in the shadows, if I'm not mistaken, the shadow,
the shading curves. Right.
Yeah, the shading curves on the not monochrome. It was on monochrome.
Right, on the color profiles. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, there's, what, I always thought about the Pen F when it came out, and I know you and I talked a ton about it, is there seems to be some possibilities of this thing you know, just the kinds of things they could do inside with those, you know, kinds of minute changes like that.
Right.
So it's going to be fun. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun to get it on. I have it sitting right here, just waiting to be updated. That
Right.
might be my first one to update. I don't know. I mean, I do like the stuff on the EM1 Mark II, but I really want to save one of those settings.
Yeah, another one too. So, and again, you know, I apologize if you're not an Olympus user and we're just rambling off all these cool updates that we're getting, but we're just excited about it. And I know a big one for me personally is the small focus points being added back into the EM1 Mark II. I missed that tremendously on the EM1 Mark II versus the other bodies. And I actually had somebody today ask me, what's the big deal about that? I shoot little tiny birds. You know, Scott Bourne shoots, I mean, he shoots all birds, but you know, he's got these incredible, like giant, you know, big raptor photos, you know, the big eagles and stuff. And they're not as easy for me to find here in Michigan. So I'm usually chasing like little birds, and you want to get the eye in focus. And with the big focus box, lots of times that box encompasses the entire head of the bird. And it's like, well, do I know if the eye is really sharp or not? You know, and I have to review it. And those small focus points are great because you put that right on top of the eye and boom, you know, you got that, you know, where your focus is for sure. So really,
well, and you know, it's going to be this is another one of these weird shows where I can agree with you, because I didn't even tell you about this yet, but my trip to California last week, I got to shoot hummingbirds, like
they're all over in
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was at a special place that had hummingbirds, and man, I'll tell you, those things just piss me off. They're hard to catch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I think I rattled off 1,000 images.
Oh yeah, they're tough.
Pro capture
for sure.
Some cool ones, but you know, with that small focus point, that would have been easier.
Oh yeah,
a lot easier, because I think it took an hour to go through all the pictures once I got them.
You know, and another thing too. So you know, when I were talking about the small focus points, and I was talking about taking a photo and then rolling in on the thumb wheel to review it.
Right.
You know, to get it into maximum magnification, you have to roll the thumb wheel several times. And that's one of the changes in the firmware update, is that you can set that so that with literally one click of the thumb wheel, you're at max. I'm snapping my fingers tonight. I don't know what the deal is with that, but with one flip of the thumb wheel, one click, you're at maximum magnification. So there's no more rolling the wheel to zoom in and then rolling the wheel to zoom back out. It's just
and then you zoom back out too far, and then you got all the other ones going, God darn, I gotta get back.
Yep. So yeah, so to just zoom in on an image, you know, when you're reviewing, it's just literally one click. You can have it defaulted to maximum magnification, which is pretty good if you're somebody who's reviewing images in the field. So
well, I think I like that for a lot of reasons, even more than birds, even just you know, go back up there for sure. So the one Alex did, I think, is really cool. I'm excited about this. You're excited from an astro perspective. I'm just, to have that kind of a wide lens could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is to take the 8mm fisheye and we'll, for lack of a better word, defish it.
Yeah.
Defish it in camera, right? Choose that option to defish. And if you don't follow Alex McClure, one of the visionaries, go out and look. He took 2 photos, one without the defish, one with and then the one with the 12-100.
Right.
So you can see the width. How much more wider. Oh yeah. And that's always the thing that I think people, especially come from full frame like DSLRs. I know when I did, I used to think, oh, you know, what's a 12mm to a 17? That isn't that big of a deal. It's huge in micro four thirds.
Yeah, massive.
So that little 12-8 is big. I mean, it really is a wide. And all of a sudden now you've got that wide lens. Yeah, it's not, you know, doesn't have that fishness to it. We'll call it.
Yeah, it's not so fishy. That lens is not so fishy now.
Man, a lot of jokes.
And for astrophotography too, like you mentioned, you know, Alex McClure and I, and I'm sure Peter Baumgarten or anybody else who's into astrophotography that has that lens is going to be excited, because just the field of view is massively wide. And not only that, this is one of the instances where the having a maximum aperture that's, you know, so wide open at 1.8 really matters a lot. I mean, I tell people that aperture isn't mandatory like all the time, because sometimes you can compensate with ISO, you know, to maintain shutter speed and stuff like that. But there are cases like astrophotography where you want to get as much light in, and that includes not just bumping up ISO, but having your lens wide open. And this lens is great for that, but the field of view is humongous. And then to be able to shoot an astro scene and have the landscape corrected so it's not like a big giant bowl that you're looking at, And that's great. I'm pretty pumped on that too.
So now let me ask you this, since we were talking about prior to the show about Nisi filters.
Right.
So now there's not one made for the 8mm lenses.
No.
So we've got to get Phil Norton to work on his things.
I don't think you'll be able to avoid vignetting.
Yeah, we may have a vignette problem there.
It's pretty darn wide. It'd be pretty cool if Nisi comes out with a filter for that.
Yeah,
it's gonna be kind of a revolutionary thing. So,
well, you know, aren't they working on the iPhone thing or whatever?
How crazy is that?
Yeah, that was Derek's story put that out.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
I thought it was an April Fool's joke. They got leaked. I'm like, really? Like filters for a phone? But you know, as many people are using phones out there, and some of them seriously for video and stuff like that.
Right, for video, I can see you might want it in that sense, but yeah, that's a different thing. So what's the other one? What's on the EM? The camera we never seem to talk about enough anymore that we loved is the EM5 Mark II.
Yeah, focus stacking added into that now too. So and I'll be honest with you, I glossed over or just kind of skimmed through the EM5 because admittedly that's kind of taken a back shelf for me lately, but I think, I don't know, getting some new features into it, it always kind of makes it feel like a new car again, and you want to take it out for a spin around the block. So
yeah, I agree. You know, well, they added the bleach bypass filter, the one that's in the new EM10 Mark III, right?
Right. Yeah. Correct. Yep.
And which is pretty cool.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of the art filter. So that's one of the few art filters so I go through and I customize my art filters so that only the ones that I like show up. And that's one of the ones that's on the EM10 Mark III on mine is the bleach bypass. So I look, it's an Instagrammy look. It plays well.
Yeah. So I think so they added that, didn't they, on all three?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. All the cameras got that.
So that's really good, I think. And again, it's just, I love that line what was it? Love your camera longer.
Yeah.
That's a cool line that Olympus used in it. And it's right. I mean, come on. How many companies are doing that?
Right. It used to be Fuji was like super well known for it, and it seems like it's gotten a little quiet on their front. And so I'm glad to see Olympus still doing that. And I'm sure maybe the other companies still do it. It just doesn't get as much fanfare. But when Olympus does it, man, they come out of the gate running and knock it out with like multiple cameras all at once, So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But all right, so what else do you want to go into sharing? You want to talk about Atlanta? What do you want to what do you think?
Let's save the best for last. So that obviously means Atlanta. So so we can share a few photos.
Okay.
Who wants to go first? There's only two of us.
I don't know now. I'm all confused. You go ahead. You weren't here last week.
All right. All right, let's see if I can remember how to do this again. Oh, hold on here. Click over there. There we go. I just want to make sure I have the right one queued up first. All right, so in the last, I think, episode, maybe the last two episodes, I kind of talked about wanting to give a tip because we get requested that a lot. And so this tip, I guess, is going to be, I'm going to be discussing the image here that's in this shot and then just talk about, I guess, a little bit of a suggestion. So I'd never been to Los Angeles before. I was there for a work trip, and we were supposed to be going to a trade show, but I knew that we had some free time, and the sales gentleman that I was on this business trip with has been to Los Angeles like 15 or 19 times. So he knows LA like the back of his hand. I mean, he can take you to the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. And I told him, I want to get up to Griffith Observatory and take photos there. I said, but I don't want to just shoot from Griffith. I want to shoot Griffith. I want that to be in my scene. And he said, I know exactly where to go. So we'll go up these trails. So this was probably like 3 weeks before the trip that I had spoken with him about that. So I knew going into this what I wanted to shoot. And that's the tip, is to research where you're going. And this is going to sound so mundane and so boring and pedestrian, but it's true. Research where you're going. So if you're going to come to Atlanta with us, research where we're going to be and then pack appropriately for it. And this is the whole part where I like to tell people that any art is about some sort of sacrifice. Some sort of personal sacrifice seems to be had in creating an art, in creating your craft. And the sacrifice was for this image, packing the 300mm f4 with teleconverter, lugging it through an airport. I mean, granted, it's smaller than a full frame equivalent lens, but still, it's big. Lugging that through the airport when we had a 3.5 hour delay and having to sit at the airport with all this gear and then hike up into the hills behind Griffith Observatory just to get a handful of shots. Literally, I have 3 photos that I'm pumped on. This is one of them. And if you follow me anywhere on social media, you'll have seen the other shot. And the sacrifice was having to hike up these hills with a big bag full of gear just for a couple of photos. So research your location, envision a shot in your head that you want to do, and then pack appropriately. And if it sucks to have to take that one thing for that one shot, that's your sacrifice. That's the thing that you have to give up in order to get the shot. So this is Griffith Observatory that you see in the foreground and the Los Angeles skyline behind it. I think the distance between Griffith and LA behind it is probably about 10 or 12 miles, not super far. And even less further away, I guess, due to the compression that you get from 420 millimeters on micro 4/3 of compression. We hiked up into the hills behind Griffith, and there was, I had taken several shots on the way up, and then we turned around to come back down, and I noticed that there was, and this was weird, it was, I swear, a single big rock that had been split and then separated. And that's what we're looking at here, is we're looking through the gap between this boulder that had been busted and split apart. So I had to walk back an absurd distance in order to get the rock in the, yeah, my trademark is these shots aren't going to make themselves. That's right, Mike. I'm
sorry, I had to write it.
Right, that's true. You have to put in the work to get it. They just don't happen on their own. So so while my traveling partner, business partner was waiting, I was hiking further back out into nowhere to get far enough away from these rocks just to get them in the shot. So thank you, Mr. Brian Schultz, for being patient with me on a work trip while I hiked into the rattlesnake infested weeds to get this one photo. This is a bracketed shot, handheld bracketed shot at, again, 420 millimeters on the OMD EM1 Mark II. And I had to bracket in order to get the shadows on the hillside in the foreground to stand out, because as you can see in the clouds, they were lit up fairly well. And just for people kind of curious on processing for this, it was, again, bracketed, but I had to use the dehaze slider as an adjustment brush on the skyline in the background, because it's weird. LA has this like fog that's wrapped around the city all the time. I think it's called smog. So that was exciting to get that shot for me. And what would trip shooting stuff be without a selfie? I've always got to get a selfie in there. And I tell people this all the time: get photos of yourself in these environments. Set up a tripod, set the timer up, excuse me, get out in front of the camera, and show people where you were at, show people what it took to get the shots. Everybody sees photos and just thinks, oh, cool, great photo. They don't know what goes into it. And if you look off in the distance, you can see Griffith Observatory, and you can maybe see there's a road leading up to it. We're parked at the top of that road right by Griffith, and you can see how far away I am. So I walked a ways up the hills after traveling, ridiculous amount of hours through the night to get there, and hike up here just to make, like I said, literally probably about 3 shots that I was truly after, and then that was it. So that's my Griffith Observatory adventure and my my ode to sacrifice. And again, my tour guide took me to everywhere I wanted to go. I said, hey, let's check out Venice Beach. And he said, oh, dude, you're going to love that because you used to skateboard. So of course we went to the skate park, and there was this girl roller skating in the skate park. And she was an animal in there. She was a blast. Like, she would come by and do tricks and like smile or wave, and then she knew what I was doing. So I was leaning up right up against the lip of this bowl here where she's riding. And I get the camera set up and I'm on burst mode. Again, EM1 Mark II. And this is the 7-14 on this one, but it's at 14 millimeters. It's not all the way out. And she come flying up, and I've fired off like 30 or 40 shots to get the whole sequence. And I'm going through them. And then here's this one where she's got her tongue hanging out, like looking dead center right at the camera. So I was pretty pumped on that. And this is straight out of the camera, no processing or nothing like that. So again, kind of cool. And after Venice Beach, we decided to hit Hollywood, and I tried to put on my best Mike Baining shoes and get some of the interesting people in Hollywood, because now I know for sure why they call it Holly Weird, because wow, there's all kinds of people in Hollywood. So I don't know. I just kind of titled this lady the Queen of Hollywood, because she is she was interesting. I don't know what she was talking about. I don't know if she knows what she was talking about, but she said all kinds of really weird things and then just literally like eyeballed me like right off the curb into the street. So this is about the only photo I got with her. But this is with the Pen F and the 25 millimeter f1.2. And then this is just a custom mono profile that I made in the Pen F literally like the day we got there and got on the street. So I love the pen for that. Same with this one. This gentleman, again, trying to do the Mike Baining thing, but all the people I shot on this trip, my goal was to get them looking at me. You know, it's intimidating to have somebody look straight at you when you take their picture, when it's not something that you like asked them to do. So again, Pen F, this guy just looked funky, man. I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if it was like the velvet blazer or what it was, but he was a character, a little Einstein going on. And Pen F with the 25 millimeter f1.2, and again, straight out of the camera with a custom mono profile. And the last one was my last night there. And we were in Long Beach, actually, is where the trade show we were attending was at. And this is at the Hyatt Regency in Long Beach. And there's this pedestrian overpass that goes over whatever this is. I can't remember what boulevard this is. But last night we were there and I thought, man, I haven't done any like real night shooting, you know, and decided to get out, and I just posted myself up on that pedestrian overpass. And this was with the 17 millimeter f1.2. And I'm not sure why I had that lens on, but I just think I threw it on the camera and went down and just did a live comp of, you know, there's a Ferris wheel at this big outlet mall and stuff like that in the background, but pretty fun. And this is processed with, so live comp settings were, I think my base exposure was something like 2 seconds. And this was just post-processed with a custom preset that I have in Lightroom that I call my special sauce. And
yeah, I think that's well, I mean, I know that's where they race, where we race.
Yes, they were setting up for that when we were there. So
right, yeah, and I'm pretty sure they race straight down that.
Oh, I'm sure they do. The start finish line is behind that shot,
right?
About
it's a great
200
race,
yards.
If you ever get a chance to see that one, if you're in that area, boy, go see it. It's a great race through the city streets.
Yeah,
which is really cool. But all right, well, boy, so it's a California theme tonight.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm going to tell you. Let's see if we get this one first. I'm trying to think, am I on there first? Yeah, I'm still going to show. I got a couple shots from San Francisco because I really didn't show much last week. Can you see that okay though? Is it up there? Okay. Yep. But this is that morning we were all together shooting that we got up there, whatever it was, 5:30 or 5. I don't know. It was early. But this one is processed in Luminar. So it's a single shot process in Luminar. And I really do like, you know, that application. I mean, not only, you know, if we are given a couple things away of it, but I tell you what, it worked really well in this situation. And you know, that was a great night or a great morning there. And then later on, just this shot here of the Palace of Fine Arts is one that I've been wanting to get for a long time. I mean, I've been in San Francisco now for, I don't know, well, actually probably about 20 years. I go there a couple times a year, but for the last 5 or 6, I'm probably there 6 times a year. And I just have never had a chance to get back out at the Blue Hour to get the Palace of Fine Arts. And a bunch of us were there, so we were pretty happy. And then last week, as you departed from California, I was landing on a vacation with my wife and in Palm Springs, and I had actually never been to Palm Springs before. We certainly don't have any stores there. We don't. I don't necessarily go to that area at all. But it was a great time, and put 1,250 miles on a rental car in 6 days. I probably, if my wife is probably watching, she's a saint for going through all this stuff, driving out every day, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. So, but this first one, this is taken with the Mavic Air. This is one of those, I'm trying to think of whether it's the 180 pano or not, but it's just a really, really cool shot of Borrega Springs. And I don't think you can see them here, but there's other stuff that you'll see me post, or you may have already seen it, but throughout this entire huge desert area, there's 100 steel sculptures of dinosaurs and serpents. And if you look, it's way down here. Anyways, there's a serpent over here that crosses the road. It's out here. It's like 50 feet long. You go out on my Facebook page, you'll see a couple pictures of it. But really cool place to be at. This is one of the shots I was hoping to get while we were in Palm Springs, way up into the mountains with Palm Springs in the background. And to get up into those mountains, of course, as I'm driving up going through this, I'm thinking live composite all the way, knowing that this is going to be cool if we can get this set up. So this was, and every shot, well, obviously that the first one was with Mavic Air from a drone, but this is the 12-100 and the EM1 Mark II. Almost every shot I think I have here is that that lens that almost never came off, even though I had a bunch of lenses with me. That lens really never came off the camera. One of our 2.5 hour drives was to Amboy, California. And if you don't know Amboy, California, it wouldn't surprise me because I think the population is 300. But this is a bucket list shot for me, a bucket list stop, and that is Roy's Motel and Cafe. 2 things, 3 things, whatever. This is iconic for photographers. You're on Route 66, but Olympus did a great, John Sterling Ruth did a great, series of shots and ads for Olympus from here. And I've always wanted to see this place because it's historic. It's abandoned, but it's historic, but the store is still open. This is the old front office that you're looking at with that triangle building. And then these were the bungalows and stuff they would rent. But right in front of it, they've got that Route 66 right on the road. And I just waited and waited for some trucks to come by, just to give it that effect down low. So you could get the scene from what it might look like from being on Route 66. But when you go to Roy's, the most important thing you can do, and I got a couple of pictures, but I'll flip through these. And again, 12-100. So is you got to have the Route 66 root beer. It was fantastic, by the way. And for those of people that don't say you get any bokeh off of that 12-100, you're wrong. I mean, this was with the 12-100. And this is actually straight out of the camera, but I'm using the selective color piece, one of the selective color wheels, to mess with some of the color in there, and get that. And the same thing here out on the road. Put the Route 66 bottle on the road. And what's really cool is you got the reflections of the clouds up here in the bottle. But just to give a perspective, if there's a tip on my thing is today is just work on your perspective of what shots. Roy's is the famous place. How can I get that in the background of everything I do, or this Route 66 on the road? And one last thing, as you're driving 2.5 hours through nothing in California, trying to look for Amboy, you come across some odd things, lots of abandoned houses, lots of craziness in the desert. This one was somebody's front yard. And man, I stopped the car. I think Denise was sleeping, and I took a real hard turn, and I know she woke up like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, nothing. I just saw these bikes. I got to turn around and get this shot." So stayed there for 10-15 minutes shooting it different ways. But what a cool shot in front of somebody's yard there. So some neat stuff.
Yeah, Roy's,
man.
I can imagine hitting the UE to shoot that.
Yeah. I mean, the Roy's is just I can't.
Yeah. No, I can't even imagine. Yep.
So I'll tell you the truth on the Roy's thing. Denise read a bunch of pages in the car of her book. We spent 4 hours at Roy's.
Wow. She is a saint. Yeah. Holy cow, dude.
4 hours. I mean, I photographed so much stuff there.
You met every person in Amboy.
They have a post office across the street. I was photographing that. I mean, people were looking at me like, "Why are you photographing us?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's cool though. I'm sure that they're used
out there, and abandoned school next to it. The Amboy school, high school is all abandoned. Oh man, it's just good stuff. There's a future trip in there somewhere
Yeah.
Route 66 drive, 2,140 miles. Man,
that would be kind of cool though. How cool would that be to do that drive? Oh my gosh.
Talked about it a lot. I'm going to see if Denise is watching tonight. We'll go downstairs and talk some more. Gonna need some time to do that.
Yeah.
But,
it's
cool. A lot of fun. Yeah. So California, and I can't tell you because I'm sure you still have them too, is I got lots of pictures from San Francisco that I haven't touched. And now I got all these.
Yep. Yeah. I'm starting to feel like Bob Panic.
I was just gonna say I'm feeling like Bob Panic.
Ton of images to work on. I guess I'll have stuff to do.
Yep.
For a while, and then you keep shooting, and it's like, man, I don't want to get like buried, but
but you know what? It's a good bury, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, definitely, for sure. So before we go, just again a quick note on the Atlanta workshop. So if you're not sure how to get to it, how to find it, it'll be in the show notes for this show. And I think a lot of the podcast apps now you can actually click on the links, so it should show up in there as well. You can get to it from there, but if not, just remember it's at meetup.com/mirrorless adventures, and it's called Focus on Atlanta. And like we said, so between the two of us, there are 6 people that we've personally spoken with who are trying to negotiate ways to make this happen for them. So if you're an unknown 7th or 8th person and you really are thinking about it and you're not sure, but you do have the means, I suggest signing up. We're not just trying to push it on people. It's just that we don't want anybody to be disappointed that had the ability to go but waited, what I mean? So and it'll be fun. Just really quick rundown. So city shooting in Atlanta. Nobody knows Atlanta like Mike does, and we're going to get a couple of iconic shots. Remember I was talking about visualizing or finding these really cool shots and planning for them, and doing whatever you have to do to make it happen, about making those images. Mike's setting us up for success on that with a really cool shot of the Atlanta skyline. So I'm really stoked on that. And then Old Car City, Amicalola Falls, spaces in between those on en route. So it's going to be fun. And then there's not just that, there's also the educational aspect of it, not just out in the field, but afterwards, because we have a conference room. It's going to be good. It's going to be a great workshop.
Room where we'll be able to hook up computers, do some processing, show some of the ways we process the photos. Then we're in a hotel that has, normal night is about $289 a night. We got it for $149.
Yeah.
And the hotel is
the hotel itself is incredible. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a photo walk in itself. It's a 1,600 room hotel that goes straight up 46 floors, and it looks like the inside of a whale. It's just crazy. So yeah, definitely. If you're on the fence, now's the time. Think or send us questions. And I will say one other thing: if you go to Mirrorless Adventures and let's say, for sure you can't do it, sign up for Mirrorless Adventures. Don't just go look. Sign up. Get to be one of the members, because who knows, the next time we're coming somewhere, you'll be alerted first if you're one of the members. Doesn't cost anything. Right. So do that for sure.
Yep. And the reason for that too is because we do other things outside of the workshops. Some of them are free. My wife doesn't watch this, so I can say this on the show. We're planning a family vacation to the Smoky Mountains in May, first week of May, or April. I'm sorry. It's really soon, actually, like a month away. It is. And one of those nights will be in Nashville. And I'm trying to negotiate a little bit of time. I'd like to meet up with some people in Nashville and maybe spend an hour or two just kind of hanging out and shooting and stuff like that together. So again, things like this just pop up on the Mirrorless Adventures meetup page. And if you're not a member of it, you wouldn't know. And with the traveling Mike does, it's not like it's restricted to just Michigan. It could be anywhere in the country.
All over. No, and I've already done, I think, 3 or 4 like that. Hey, I'm going to shoot tonight. Why don't I get a bunch of people that that I only know online? Let's meet up and talk.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Definitely. Good show. Good pictures. Nice to have you back.
Going to be back in the wheel here. So, again, you guys, in a couple of more weeks, just tune back in for the next show. And don't forget to just swing over to Mirrorless Adventures and sign up whether you're going to Atlanta or not. And we'll see you guys in 2.
Yep. See ya.